Far Cry 4 was my first platinum trophy, which I earned over 10 years ago, so the choice for my 100th plat was easy. I picked Far Cry 6. I'll be showing each trophy I earned from the main game and the DLC, then sharing my thoughts on the game and the plat at the end. But first, to celebrate earning 100 plats, I decided to do the 1 through 10 Platinum Difficulty Challenge, which I'll be uploading the beginning of this month, so subscribe to not miss that challenge. Alright, now let's get right into it. The first trophy I earned was Yo Soy Danny Rojas, for selecting if I wanted to be a male or female main character, and the choice was easy. I was going to be a Latina baddie. I reached the mainland, and after dispatching some enemies, came across my first ally, this crocodile, and after almost getting my hand turned into a human beef patty by petting him, I got a trophy and my first amigo. I came across some gear, and after playing Dress to Impress and putting on a full set of gear, I got the Fashionista trophy. The game wanted me to jump on someone from 50 meters up and break both my legs for a trophy, but I went a different route and decided I'd test my piloting skills after I stole a plane and rained death from above on them that way instead. I blew too much stuff up at the plane, don't ask where it went, which attracted some heat from special forces that came to chase me, but I turned the tides in the fight and ended up being the one doing the chasing. By the end of that fight, I'd taken down my 10th Special Forces soldier and made them look pretty special while doing it. I went back to business as usual, just going about my average Friday night, and in the process ran over 10 funny looking traffic cones for the trophy. Upgrading one camp facility at any guerrilla base earned me the Hogar Dulce Hogar trophy, which my elementary level Spanish allowed me to understand one of those words, so that's pretty sweet. I then tried my luck winning a cockfighting match, which I thought I'd have in the bag, but after realizing it was a chicken fight, I came to the conclusion it might be harder than I thought. I let out my insanity and blew a shark out of the water for the Jawsome Brody trophy, which was a Far Cry 3 reference. After causing so much commotion, I quieted things down by disabling all cameras and alarms at an F&D base. I kept playing Ninja and captured a base without being detected for the Ninjarilla trophy. I completed 5 Bandito side operations, which were a side minigame you could send liberated people on to acquire resources, showing I was the alpha guerrilla. I had mostly liberated a third of the map by clearing out the government's bases, checkpoints, and influence from the area, earning Montero Justicia, and their support when I was ready to overthrow the capital. I then completed 3 races, in which I had to take care not to give my group a bad rap by crashing into any buildings. On my way to the new area of the map, I liberated my 10th checkpoint. Luckily, they accepted my toll payment in lead. I set a trap and an alarm, and after a soldier interacted with it, they both became outdated. Next, I finished liberating the second third of the map, unfortunately recruiting Maximus Matanzas, the island's wannabe SoundCloud rapper. I then blew up my 16th anti-aircraft gun, because you know, when you're trying to overthrow your government, you might as well destroy all your equipment while you're at it so you can get a fresh start instead of just capturing it. I'd gathered enough resources from destroying things to actually make some slight improvements, and after building one of each camp facility, I was finally glamping. I then had leveled up in the guerrilla's ranks to Comandante for the Glorious Leader trophy, which they'd have to get used to calling me that, or I'd make sure they spent the rest of their days breaking rocks. By this point, I'd mostly cleared out the third area of the map, which allowed me to recruit the local retirement home who overthrew the government in '67. Finally, I'd taken back Yara, for the people, because a group of mercenaries would definitely do a better job of running things than a psychotic or a farming finance bro with lots of drug money. With Yara liberated, it was now time to do some cleanup. I decided to start by knocking out some trophies that I had to go out of my way to get. The first was for completing a special operation for the Overheated trophy. And after one of these missions, I was overheated from doing any more and would have to focus on the rest of these trophies later. I also went online and queued up with another guerrilla and quickly captured a base for a trophy. I can now get back to cleaning up Castillo's government remnants and random side quests across Yara. Since I now had control of Yara, I was smart enough to repurpose equipment instead of turning it into a fireball. And after bringing back my third vehicle in mint condition, I got Finders Keepers. I then enjoyed the retiree life and crushed some old heads at Domino's at the retirement home. I kept the retiree life going by doing some fishing, earning a trophy after catching my 10th. The retiree life was running my savings dry, so I had to supplement my pension by picking up a side hustle and intercepting my 10th supply drop. I then completed Triada Blessings by hunting down some jaguars and got one of them to be a new amigo. I finally had collected enough uranium to trade it in to a fellow gorilla who would definitely make sure it was properly disposed of in exchange for some backpacks called Supremos that were so potent a TSA agent would instantly faint upon seeing it on the X-ray machine. I turned more of the country's resources into weapons by fully upgrading my special weapon, my resolver weapon. I then took a census of the local wildlife and experimented with turning them into a new cultural cuisine for the Fry Cry trophy. I then cleaned up a lot of easy trophies, starting with getting a crazy carpet burn by sliding 200 meters down a hill. I then pulled up on my ops, 1900 style, by doing a drive-by on a horse. I set up my plan for the island's future economy by collecting my 4th personal vehicle. And after installing 10 upgrades on one of those vehicles, I finally completed our fleet of Ubers. I then decided to get back in touch with nature, collecting the hide of any notable animal on the island. I then indentured any animals that I hadn't skinned to my servitude, acquiring my 5th amigo. I put an outfit on my cock to make him look a little more presentable and let him really strut his stuff. Then I put my wheelchair dog, Chorozo, to use, but instead of using him to pick up chicks at my local coffee shop, I had him distract soldiers for some easy elims. I stayed on the path of repurposing equipment instead of destroying it, and liberated this tank and its driver with an EMP. I used the former dictator's medicine to have 5 soldiers turn on each other. I had finally captured the last F&D base from the horrible former government, finally giving Yara liberty. I stole a hidden money stash on a special operation to prop up the economy. I then beat a special operation where I had to steal nuclear materials and make sure they didn't blow up from overheating by splashing around in some puddles from time to time. I also saved my 30th hostage in special operations, growing the guerrillas' numbers. My job as dictator, island liberator, wasn't done yet though, as now I had to liberate anything with usefulness remaining on the island. I started by collecting all unique weapons, because I've seen firsthand what happens when citizens have access to those. I then collected all the roosters, because what's more important, my citizens having nourishment, or me having some pretty sick pets. I then gathered all 15 USB sticks, because the people didn't need access to information. I also collected 15 cryptogramma chests, because I didn't want them gearing each other up. Finally, I took out an insurgent leader. Another one popped up a week later, and one more a week after him. And I took them all out because if we've learned anything, insurgents that have opposite views of the current government are bad. And finally, after doing that, I got the Conquistador Platinum Trophy, my 100th Plat. The Plat wasn't the end of the story here though, as the game has 46 DLC trophies, and I tackled a few of them while waiting the 2 IRL weeks for a new insurgent leader to pop up. The ones I targeted were in the 2 free DLCs, which added more special operations missions. These missions took about 40 minutes to complete, and there were 5 missions, each with 1 trophy for beating it on the 3rd difficulty. I had to play each operation 4 times to unlock their trophies, but after a bit of grinding, they came through. Unfortunately, I didn't do the rest of the 41 DLC trophies while playing the game, as they were paid DLCs, and the other 2 I did were free. And since this game is my 100th Plat, I'm not sure I want to move it up the list by completing the rest, so my experience with Far Cry 6 has probably ended here. I've been very sarcastic throughout this video. Let's get serious for a minute on my thoughts on the game and its trophies. Overall, the Plat was an enjoyable experience. There wasn't too many collectibles. The game had you experience all types of side content it had to offer for the trophies, without doing too much of it where it got annoying. And you didn't have to dive into special operations too much either, as they were DLC, which was nice. As for the game, it didn't change up the formula too much, and had some characters I was unfavorable of, but struck a nice balance of seriousness and the lack thereof that made it fun. The world and in-game systems were also well done for the most part. I enjoyed the game and the Plat, and I'm glad I picked it to be my 100th. Drop a like if you enjoyed the video, and subscribe if you'd like to see more from me. I'll be uploading my 1 for 10 difficulty challenge very shortly. Also, consider checking out some of my other videos to support my small channel. And as always, thanks for watching.